Imagine if you wished a life away.
I wish Buffy Summers had never come to Sunnydale.
What would be different? Would anything be the same?
I remember that lust for the kill.
On New Tuesday, a wish will come true.
That's right, puppy. Willow's gonna make it bark.
I wish Buffy Summers had never come to Sunnydale.
An all-new Buffy.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
And I have mental problems.
Yeah.
This week, we will be diving into Season 3, Episode 9, The Wish.
The Wish, yes.
Not to be confused with The Witch.
Not to be confused with The Witch. Please do not confuse it with The
James,
Witch.
how are you? I understand you celebrated a 42nd trip around the sun recently.
I did. I celebrated the 42nd anniversary of my of the escape from my birthing matrix.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have to wait long, or were you in that pod for a long time, or was the ship there?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because someone asked me earlier today. A coworker asked me. She said, "How was your birth?" Like, meaning how was your birthday? But of course, me being me, I said, "Well, my mom says it was long and painful." To which I always reply to my mom, "As is my life."
Yeah. You should have said, well, it wasn't that comfortable for me either. Coming out of a small cylindrical
right
opening.
It took me 17 hours to escape my birthing matrix.
It took... I don't remember. I know my mom has told me. All I know is she went into labor with me on the November the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't pop out until 4:04 p.m. on November the 4th. So
oh my goodness.
I'm going to assume many hours of agony. But come on, it was worth it. Look what the world got, bro.
Right.
Honestly.
Right. Come on. How could anyone argue with that?
Who can ask for anything more? So, anyway, do we have any correspondence or anything we need to talk about from last week?
Just SW, our new friend Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
She left us a comment. She said she didn't expect that, which I'm presuming was the shout out we gave her. But as anybody who listens to the show knows, I have repeatedly promised that we will read your comments on the podcast, regardless of what they are. So, yeah, she also said we had an awesome sense of humor for taking her D-bag comment the way she meant it, as a joke.
I was kind of hoping she meant it.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. She also said that Dr. Pepper's strawberry and cream isn't actually bad, and Joyce can suck it.
Yeah, Joyce can do well.
Joyce,
for you, I'm sure you mentioned. What?
Well,
What?
I did respond to her comment and say that Joyce is the literal worst, which she is.
Yeah, obviously, she's made that way by the writers and whatnot. But,
right. It's not Christine Sutherland at all. Fine actress. Probably
so good.
Lovely woman in real life. But yeah, the Joyce is just not. She's well written if their intention is to have people not like her.
Yeah. They're doing a bang-up job on that.
Right, they did phenomenal.
But then, as we have discussed, there are those out there in the Buffyverse community who fucking like Joyce, who think Joyce is a good mom. Yeah. And that makes me question those people's ability to judge proper parenting.
It makes me question the parenting they had
Yeah.
being raised and the parenting they may be doing.
Right. Yeah.
So I also question the people that adore Xander. They think Xander's a good friend and
Well,
adore.
everybody loved Xander back in the as we have discussed back in the day when the show was new. But looking at it now, 20 some odd years later, it's like, whoa,
Right.
this guy's a real piece of shite skull.
Right. So, so that's all I have on that front. I did mean to tell you before we started recording, but I'll mention it now. As you know, I am once again attending C2E2.
Of course,
at the end
you're
of
a lucky
March.
prick that lives 37 seconds from Chicago.
And I think I told you that James Marsters and Charisma Carpenter are on the guest list, and they're doing a panel as well as photo ops and autographs. Well, C2E2 just announced that Angel himself, Mr. David Boreanaz, will also be in attendance.
I didn't know he did conventions because he's had a very, very good career post Buffy and Angel. So I never see him like listed as a guest at conventions. So I mean, maybe you know better than I do, but
yeah, so he'll be there for photo ops and autographs, and
now,
he'll also be part of the panel.
How much money do I need to send you? Excuse me, in order to get you to get a personal photo and autograph of James Marsters for me.
So we can talk about that when we're not recording if you want.
No, I want to talk about it while we're recording.
Unless you want me to look it up right now.
No.
Which I can. I mean,
knowing you, I just figured you would know off the top of your head.
I don't know, and I'll be honest with you. It's because I don't do photo ops and autographs. Like I don't have any interest in getting those things.
Okay, what if it was Mr. Rupert Giles himself?
Listen, so Tom Welling, Erica Durrance, Kristen Kruick, and Michael Rosenbaum are also going to be there.
Yeah, but that's Smallville. Who gives a fuck?
Right, but have you Erica Durrance? I had a huge thing. Still do.
Now who is she? I don't know.
She was Lois on Smallville.
Yeah, see, I think I watched like maybe the first couple of seasons sporadically, and that was I didn't even know there was a Lois.
Yeah,
I didn't know. How do you bring Lois into fucking Smallville for fuck's sake?
Well, by the time she came on, they had kind of graduated.
Given up on being like, you know.
No, it was still like pre-Superman, but they had moved into it more revisionist, like
let's just make up our own shit.
Yeah, well,
come on.
It was still based on the comics, but they had kind of
retconned everything and said, let's just make up our own shit.
But yeah, like even Charisma Carpenter, like love Charisma Carpenter. I'm not gonna pay to take a picture with her or get her autograph.
What? Dude, I would fist fight a gorilla in a phone booth just to hear her fart through a walkie-talkie. All right.
Wow.
So, I mean, come on. It's Charisma Carpenter, for fuck's sake.
That is crazy.
No, but I'll bet if it was Mr. Giles himself, you'd be in fucking line.
No.
What?
No. There have been plenty of people over the years there that I'm huge fans of. Like, I mean, you know, I was a huge Smallville fan. You know, love the cast of Smallville. I'm not gonna pay for photo ops and autographs.
What if it was AP?
No. I had the chance. I went to a Highlander convention in Denver years ago.
I just I thought I knew you, James.
Yeah, it's just not. That's just not my thing. Let's see if I'm trying to find the.
I'm sure this is
prices.
riveting
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm sure everyone is loving this.
Yeah, it's truly not that deep, my friend.
It's really, yeah, you're right.
It's I'm a guy. It's usually like $50 from everything I've ever seen from people at conventions. That's
Yeah.
like the starting,
Yeah, and it depends on like a photo op and autograph is probably going to run you around 150.
Yeah, if it's like Bill Shatner, it's like $1,000.
Right.
And he's also going to punch you in the nuts. So
right. Well, that's the other. Bill Shatner was there last year.
yeah, but fuck Bill Shatner. I've
didn't.
never liked that fucking prick. And
Chris Evans is going to be there this year. Captain America himself.
Meh.
So,
meh.
They
no,
yeah, they're.
I'm with you to a point, but there are certain people that I would absolutely pay for a photo op and an autograph.
Yeah.
But by and large, me.
Yeah, that's just not me. I'm not into that kind of thing.
You're way too cool for that.
Yeah, I've honestly, you want my honest opinion? I feel like these people should pay me
for your autograph and a photo op.
They should pay me for pictures and to take their autograph.
Well, I mean, since you've become a world famous, world renowned, podcaster,
right? Right.
Then yeah, I can see that.
I feel like when I walk past like the convention booth on the show floor and fucking James Marsters sees me, he should be like, holy shit, that's James.
That's James from the show.
Right. And he should be like, James, come over here. I'll give you $100 to take a picture with me and take my autograph. And I'd be like, all right.
One final thought on this whole deal with conventions and whatnot. I wonder what people, I wonder what kind of dough they make doing these doing these convention appearances. Like, it's got to be a pretty decent amount of dough. I mean, because most of your Hollywoodites and whatnot, they all live in like California. Right. So to fly basically across the country, like it's got to be a pretty good fucking payday, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think that's where things like, the that's why prices on things like photo ops and autographs, tend to be up there.
Well, yeah, from what I've heard and read before, a lot of times they get a flat fee and then they are able to sell their merchandise, gimmicks, whatever, and then the autograph, photo, blah blah blah, and then they have to give like a percentage of that, I believe, to like their handlers or whatever. I don't know, but from what I understand, if you're half a name in Hollywood, you make a pretty fucking good payday.
Yeah,
just no one's there. No one gets to see you.
Right. Yeah, like I would imagine it's not cheap to get. Okay, like, not that I want to drag this on, a whole lot longer, but okay, so you're getting the principal cast of Smallville there. Like, okay, it's Smallville. Show's been off for 10, 15 years. The people that go to conventions, like there's still a strong fan base there. Of course people are gonna want to see those people. The same with like David and James and Charisma. So I'm sure they don't come cheap, but to get like Chris Evans, like that's gotta be
like a 20 to 30 grand payday.
Yeah, that's got to be expensive to get someone like Chris Evans to show up at a convention. That's not New York Comic-Con or San Diego Comic-Con or one of those big ones where they're going to be promoting
a movie or something.
Right, the next Marvel whatever or any movie or whatever. Cuz I mean, Like Chris Evans is still, even though he's not Captain America anymore, he's still a big deal, in Hollywood. So
Yeah,
yeah, I can't imagine it's cheap to get them.
Yeah. Now, if they were going to have Allison Mack, man, I would be all over it.
Oh my God, I had such a crush on Allison Mack.
Right. And then she becomes this fucking cult bitch.
I keep joking with my buddy Justin that during the Smallville panel, I'm going to get up and I'm going to ask them if they know how I can join her sex cult.
Wow. You don't have a hair on your balls if you don't do that. I would, and have somebody film it so you can put it on YouTube. That would be, I mean, of course you would be immediately ejected and never be allowed in again. But God damn, that shit would go viral as fuck. You would get us so many listeners to this show.
Like, ask if they know how I can join her sex cult and be just like her personal.
But do you know how utterly destroyed you would be by the hardcore woke folks there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, how dare! Oh, you piece of shit!
Right.
Yeah, you would be. Be crucified.
Billy D. Williams was there last year, and I almost got in the Q&A line just so when I got up there, I could ask him if I could be excused to go to the washroom.
Or just be like, hey, what's it like to have a career based on, one movie? Oh, and the little Batman cameo where he's the mayor and shit.
I just get up there and be like, excuse me, Mr. D. Williams,
Mr.
may I go to
Williams?
May I go to the bathroom?
I think you would just be Mr. Williams. I don't think you would.
No, it's funnier if it's Mr. D. Williams.
Mr. D. Williams, I'm gonna shit my pants. Can I go to the bathroom? Okay, we're 17 minutes into the podcast. Let's why don't you hook us up some dates and deets?
As previously stated, we are revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3, Episode 9, our 43rd episode of the series overall. The Wish. Our episode director is David Greenwald, and our credited writer for this episode is Marty Noxon. Our original air date was December 8th, 1998 on the now defunct WB network. Our Nielsen rating for this episode was 4.2 million households when it first aired. It ranked 88th out of 128 original network primetime shows for the week, and number 1 out of the 15 original shows on the WB for that week. The only time this season it will hit the number 1 spot.
That's crazy. This is the best season ever.
Also, to backtrack to last week for Lover's Walk, if you'll recall, it ranked 76th out of the 110 original network primetime shows for the week. That is the highest it will rank for this season.
Wow.
Out of original primetime shows.
Well, then as now, lots of people don't have any taste.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting that that this is the only time this season it's going to hit number 1 out of the 15 other original shows airing on the WB. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include the return of the phenomenal, the outstanding, the exuberant, the I'm all out of
platitudes.
Platitudes. Mark Metcalf as the Master, Emma Caulfield as Anya or Anyanka, Larry Bagby III as Larry, Mercedes McNabb as Harmony, Danny Strong as Jonathan, Nathan Anderson as John Lee, and Mariah O'Brien as Nancy. Our episode synopsis this week reads: You're gonna tear this apart. Cordelia is granted a wish by an evil genie and moves to another reality where the master rules with Xander and Willow by his side.
An evil genie.
Yes.
Okay, so Cordelia at one point finds a lamp during this episode and she rubs it, and this evil genie. Well, that's the stupidest fucking.
It's not a bad.
demon.
It's not a bad synopsis except for the evil
The genie part. Yeah, the evil
Right.
genie part's just stupid.
Right. We open and
Can I give my synopsis, please, sir?
I forgot.
Wow.
Sorry.
You know what? I'm just done for the episode.
Finally, it's my time to fucking shine.
Cordelia's wish for a Buffy-free Sunnydale comes true, plunging her into a world where vampires have control of the town.
Not bad.
No
bad.
fucking evil genies in mine.
Nope. Not bad. We open and Buffy, Willow, and Xander are in the park, and Buffy is being attacked by a demon. They kill the demon, and they proceed to discuss the fallout of Xander and Willow's smoochy time. Xander says he's called Cordelia a bunch and left a lot of voicemails, but she hasn't returned any of his calls. Willow says she feels terrible about what happened, and the thought of never speaking to Oz again upsets her even more. And Xander asks Buffy, who's also feeling down after, parting ways with Angel for good, how she's doing, and she says she has her friends to comfort her. Amongst that was also talk about how Faith was supposed to have been with them, but Buffy couldn't get a hold of her.
But the budget didn't allow it, so.
Yeah, they couldn't afford Eliza that week.
And did you catch the creepy? I'm sure you saw it. I think it already happened. The creepy way that creepy Xander decided to try to blame Oz and Cordelia for discovering them making out.
Oh,
and
no.
Have been there.
No, that happens later at the Bronze, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe you're right. My bad.
Oh, now I'm confused.
You might be right.
It could have been this scene.
But the point is, fucking Xander decides to try to throw fucking Oz and Cordelia under the bus. That it's their fault.
Right.
That they discovered.
You know what? It is this scene. It is this one.
And it's like, wow,
right.
Leave it to a piece of shit.
Right. Because he's all like, yeah, we kissed, and it was going to be the last time we ever kissed, and they barge in without knocking first.
Like he was letting us know, and it's like, wow.
It's like, dude, I hate him so much. So there's something that happens near the end of this episode that was very gratifying to see.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Their intercut with that was some talk about Faith and how they wanted her to join them for the picnic, but Buffy couldn't get a hold of her, and she feels bad because Faith really shouldn't be alone,
But I don't think her agent gave her the message because we didn't have the cash this week.
Right. And then we cut to Cordelia, who's in her bedroom, and she's cutting up a picture of her and Xander and Willow and Buffy, and burning said pictures.
Yeah, literally just burning them.
As she's listening to the barrage of messages that Xander has left. And that is our cold open.
And when we come back, we're at school the next morning, and Willow's basically camping out Oz's locker, and Buffy comes up and she's like, fucking Oz has not been here all day. He's got to come to his locker. He's going to need books and blah, blah, blah. And yada, yada. And then they're wondering about Cordelia, and and Willow says, well, yeah, Amy saw her at the mall yesterday. She's going to be here today. And then we cut to outside the school, and car pulls up, door opens, sexy leg comes out, high heels, and it's Cordelia in leather. Like, it's not a mini skirt, it's like a skirt, but it's leather, and she's got like the matching, and she's looking top notch, my friend. And she comes rolling up into the school, and Harmony and the what did I used to call them? The cunt squad, the cunt brigade.
Let's not do that though anymore.
Are you sure?
Well, yeah, let's not do that.
Okay, well, the bitch brigade, that's what I called them.
That's better.
Yeah, the bitch brigade. They come rolling in to meet her, and they're all like, "Oh, it's so good to see," and Cordelia is feeling, kind of relieved and like, whew, like, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just chalk that whole Xander thing up to a, momentary lapse of sanity and blah blah blah." And then one of them's like, well, you know what you need to do? You need to start dating again, get back on the horse. And Harmony's like, and I've got just the stud for you. She's like, come on. And they walk a few feet over there. And who is it? Nerdy Jonathan sitting on a step, drinking a big gulp. And so obviously this whole thing was to just humiliate Cordelia. And
'twas a ruse.
'Twas a ruse.
But let's talk about Charisma Carpenter in this scene real quick.
Okay.
The facial acting and the acting she does with her eyes once they've taken her over to Jonathan and she realizes that they're fucking with her. I don't know if you caught it, but I think there's a lot of layers at play there in the acting. One, I think there's the oof of realizing that she's being ragged on by these people. The oof of what she lost by dating Xander, who then betrayed her. But I also think there's in respect to her character growth, I think there's a little bit of dismay that they're treating Jonathan this way.
Yeah. Okay, I hadn't even considered that, but I'm thinking back on the scene, and yeah, because she just kind of looks at him like the old Cordelia would have been like, and just like spun around like disgusted.
Exactly.
That he's even viewing her with his eyeballs, and
right.
She just kind of looked at him like sadly,
Right.
So yeah, you can do that.
I think there's a combination of layers there, and at least that's how I took it from like I said, just her non-verbal acting. So once again, just kind of drawing attention to how stellar our cast is, honestly.
Yeah. They all just continue getting better.
Oh yeah.
It's as they get more and more comfortable with their character and everything. I think they all just keep getting better. I failed to notice. I failed to mention in the last scene. We also meet a new girl who's apparently part of the bitch brigade. Her name is Anya. She just moved to town, and her dad supposedly owns a utility company. So yeah, she's rich. She's wearing, was it Prada?
Prada, yeah.
Yes, some big name thing. And anyway, her and Cordy kind of hit it off. But anyway, then we cut back to Oz's locker, and he is now at said locker. And Stalker Willow runs up to him and starts apologizing and falling all over herself and yada yada. And Oz is just unmoved. He's like, yeah, you've already said all this. And, she wants to know if there's anything she can do. And Oz says basically all she can do right now is just leave him alone so he can have time to figure things out and yada yada. And she's like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I've already told you what I need. So it sounds to me like, you're needing to feel better about yourself. and that's not my problem. And he just walks away, and she's like, damn. And which, I mean, hey, I love Willow, but she deserves it. She deserves this.
Right. Again, like this is a really good scene too. Like with Seth Green, like that's it's very the way the way Oz is navigating the emotional turmoil of what happened is very uh adult, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well, he is a year older than the rest of them.
right.
He is
yeah.
a 38-year-old senior.
Right. Right. But again, just, you know, the way he delivers the lines and everything, it's a great scene with Seth Green and Allison Hannigan.
Yeah, those two have always had great chemistry. Just like I always said that, well, everybody knows this, that SMG and David Boreanaz had great chemistry from day one. Allison and Seth had great chemistry from day one, and they made a great on-screen couple, their characters.
Right.
And so yeah, it's a very believable scene. Like it's not your typical, dramedy kind of like black lines, it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Cordy walking down the hall, and she spots Xander come around the corner walking towards her. So she grabs this random jock guy, and she's like, hey, do I have anything in my teeth? And she gets in front of him, and that way, from Xander's view, it looks like they're kind of making out or whatever, and she's smiling and happy and everything, and Xander gets all bummed out and turns around and runs away like a little bitch, runs back around the corner, and then the jock guy tells her, he's like, listen, I just got demoted to second string, and the guys are kind of down on me, and I can't be seen with Xander Harris's cast off. So, but hey, if you want to go somewhere private, and I was like, wow, what a piece of fucking shit. And she's just like, I think at this point, I was going to say she was like devastated, but I feel like at this point, she's just like, can my life get any fucking worse?
Right.
So she leaves that situation and runs back into Anya, and she's like, oh, here we go, another. She's like, go ahead, fucking, take your shots, whatever. And Anya's like, yeah, basically she's like, fuck those bitches, I don't even like them, they're just hanging all over me because my dad's rich and blah blah blah. And so they kind of hit it off, and they continue walking together, talking about basically their disdain for men. And then we cut to the Bronze that evening, and what's going on there, James?
Everything's on fire.
It is.
Everything's on fire.
That's why I threw it to you. I know you like to talk about these scenes.
Yeah. People are running around screaming, their flesh is burning off, and Buffy, Xander, and Willow are just sitting there
on a couch,
while literally everything is in flames around them. And
Willow had erected a witch shield,
right?
So they're unaffected by the fire.
Yeah. At one point, one guy slams into the witch shield that she has erected, and his face melts off on the shield.
And like as he's screaming and his face is melting, his tongue like melts and falls out of his mouth.
Right.
And they just take a sip of their drink.
Yep.
And Willow bites into a cornbread muffin.
Mm-hmm. Nope. We see that Cordelia and Anya are hanging out with a group of people, and Cordelia's. It's obvious that she's doing her best to, like, show Xander just how over him she is. And we see that Xander and Willow and Buffy are sitting not too far from them. And every time Cordelia laughs at something someone over at her table said, Xander fake laughs. And then he gets frustrated with Willow and Buffy because they're not like playing along with the charade. And Buffy tells Xander that, you know, even though she supports him, she's not gonna take sides against Cordelia. And Willow agrees.
Which I'm like, why? When has Cordelia ever been kind to you, Buffy?
True. And Willow actually agrees with Buffy. You know, that Cordelia's in the right since she's the one that was hurt by everything. Xander says he's sick of feeling guilty and he's ready to you know, move past it. And Buffy and Willow agree, but you know, that kind of quickly fades. And Buffy's like, well, that didn't work. Who wants chocolate? And Xander and Willow both.
Willow's like, sorry, all we have is cornbread muffins.
Cornbread muffins and raisins and
raisins
and croissants.
Dry ass raggedy croissants.
And unknown beverages.
Yeah, which it's probably fucking tap water. Lukewarm.
So Buffy leaves to go to the bar and get chocolate.
Maybe they serve, like, their food shit is so horrible. Maybe they actually just serve straight up booze.
Like they have candy bar.
They're just straight serving these kids fucking liquor. They're like, fuck it. What do you need, a bourbon? Double bourbon? All right.
Chocolate was how the writers got around the censors for underage drinking.
That or they really meant, you know, like fucking pot brownies. They're all going to get fucking stoned.
Once Buffy leaves, Xander starts to rant about Cordelia, and he grabs Willow's hand, and Willow, she doesn't freak out, but she's very sternly like, you need to not touch me anymore. You know.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. You know,
it took her this long to realize she probably shouldn't let the creepiest fucker in Sunnydale, you know, touch her all the time.
Right. He apologizes and then kind of goes in.
Grab her tit. He's like, but is this okay? And she's like, yeah, that's fine.
She's like, yeah, that's fine.
You just can't touch my hand. That's
right. Just no hand holding. That's very intimate,
right.
And that's reserved for Oz. But
right.
But go ahead. You can
tweak my nipple though.
Right. You can give me a good nipple pinching.
Go ahead and give me a purple nurple, but don't touch my hands.
Yeah, he apologizes and then he goes on a little rant about, you know, he doesn't know why he's apologizing. You know, they touch digits all the time. It's a friend thing. And Willow, again, kind of very sternly explains to him that, you know, if she hopes to work things out with Oz, then her and Xander can't be like that anymore. Even like friends.
Let me jump in here and ask you something. I want your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Do you feel like, okay, how do I ask this? Okay. Do you feel like there should be, that she should even have a hope of mending fences with Oz at this point? To me, I'm thinking, no, that ship has sailed. You fucked that all up. Like, you think that, I'm trying to think of what I'm actually trying to ask. Like,
well, is
that a forgivable scenario?
I think it depends on the people involved, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's look at the two different relationships real quick. We've got Cordelia and Xander. Cordelia has pretty much made it very clear that she wants nothing to do with Xander anymore.
Yeah.
And I will say, as big of a creep as he is, to Xander, I won't say to his credit, but to his part, he's kind of accepting that. Like he's, like he was hurt seeing her kissing that other guy, but he's also not actively. Well, I guess I can't even really say that because he did call her a bunch of times, but he's not camping out at her locker.
He's also not accepting fucking responsibility, it seems like to me. He's deflecting a lot and
Right.
yada yada. So
But I will say that like he's at least not like hounding her, I guess, for lack of a better term.
yeah, just 50 something calls on her phone.
Right. Now look at Willow and Oz. Like Oz said to Willow, I need you to leave me alone for a while so I can figure things out. So to me, from if I was in Willow's shoes, to me that would intimate the idea that there could potentially be a chance to work things out once Oz has kind of worked through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I'm asking because I feel like this is a situation where there's no mending. Like in reality, like you say, it was the real world. Like you're not mending this fucking fence. Like, you, how could you? Like, how could he ever trust these two together again when he's not around? It would just be like, you know what? I don't. This.
Well, I mean, but you're looking at it also from your perspective. I mean, I know
And I am a jaded motherfucker, so
I know people, I'm sure you know people like, they've been in relationships with people who have cheated and they've, continued to be in that relationship.
yeah, which always seemed like insanity to me, but yeah.
But I would say in these cases, like looking at the two relationships, Xander and Cordelia, I would say no, there's not much chance of these issues being resolved. The Willow and Oz relationship, because of the way Oz has presented things, I don't think it's unreasonable for Willow to be like, if I want to fix things with Oz, then this is how things need to be. Because I do feel like Oz is kind of presented that, once he's had his space and he's had time to figure things out, he will come to her and say either, let's try and work on this, or I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
You're a hooer and I do not want to be in a relationship with you anymore.
Right. Now, again, real world perspective, like I said, I've known couples that have been in a similar situation where one's cheated and, they've, broken up or whatever for a little while and then gotten back together and whatnot. Me personally, I don't think I could.
Yeah, no.
I think the trust would be just completely gone, and I don't think there's any way of recapturing that, especially if it was with someone as close as Willow and Xander are.
That's what I'm saying. That to me, that's the biggest problem, is that these two are best friends and have been since childhood, and they're
Right.
always going to be together and close. And like I'd be like, you know what? There'd be too much likelihood that this could happen again. And why don't you two just fucking get together and give it a go together?
Right.
That's what I would. That's what I screamed at the screen the whole time. The first time around years ago, watching them, like, why don't you two just get together and see if you guys can be a good couple together? I don't know. Like
Right.
that was like never considered, and I never understood why.
I will say that even rewatching it now, like this interaction on the couch, like I still had that thought rewatching it all these years later. Like, why? Like they're both in situation now where they're single.
Yeah, they're both
They're
quite.
they're quite single. Like just do it. Just do the
And
fucking
she's had a
thing.
thing for him since they were kids. He has just recently discovered that he has a thing for her.
Right.
So why not say, hey, you know what? I know this whole thing didn't start in, in the best way possible, but why don't we just look at this like maybe this was the universe saying, hey, fuckheads, and pushed us. Let's give it a shot.
Right.
I don't
right.
know why that was never thought of or discussed in the show ever. It's almost like that's just ludicrous. And I'm like,
Right.
What? That would be the natural thing, I would think, I don't know.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with you in that respect. Because, like I said, even rewatching it, to do this all these years later, I was like, why? What is this? Why isn't this conversation on the couch like, hey, I'm single, you're single now, we clearly have an attraction for each other. Let's just do this thing and see how it goes.
Let's at least go to Pound Town once or twice to see if we mesh.
Right. And it's gonna mesh because she's a redhead, and redheads are wild. Everyone.
And he's a creepy as fuck, so she'll probably be able to satisfy his creepiness.
Right. Everyone meshes with a redhead. Come
right.
on.
So I mean, give it a fuck. And then Oz and Cordelia could hook up. He's 4'11", she's 5'9". He can climb Everest, baby.
Right. He's at the perfect height to motorboat.
Right. And he's I mean, hello. Give it a shot, guys. I mean, let's grow up here.
But in all seriousness, I did like I said, rewatching this, I was like, what? Why aren't they having the conversation that ends with them agreeing to give them a shot and see where it
never
goes?
brought up, like ever.
Right.
It's never discussed. I don't know. It just drives me crazy. Now, obviously, later on in this episode, we're gonna see a thing, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Why can't this be in the regular world? Like,
right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
So we cut to the bar where Buffy is getting chocolate, apparently, and she sees Cordy and Anya parting ways, and Cordy.
And they're doing like a drug deal too. You can see Anya slip
Cordy a dime bag, yeah,
and into Cordy's hand, and you're like, oh, she's got a fucking problem now.
Right.
And it's laced with fentanyl, so Cordelia's probably gonna die.
Probably.
Yeah.
So Buffy spots them and sees Cordelia leaving and follows after her, and once they're outside, Cordelia accuses Buffy of being sent by Xander, and Buffy says she's a free agent and is there of her own accord, and
of her own Cordelia.
Don't do that.
Okay.
She tells Cordelia she understands how much she's hurting, and how she felt better after talking with her friends about things, and suddenly a vampire attacks, and Buffy and the vampires start fighting, and in the fight, Cordelia gets pushed into a pile of garbage, and of course Buffy stakes the vampire, and about that time Harmony and the rest of that group come out of the bronze, and they see Cordelia covered in garbage and laugh at her, and at that point Cordelia redirects her anger from Xander to Buffy and declares that all of her problems started or all of her problems over the last few years are because of Buffy.
Which is obvious, which she should have immediately. I know she's sinking into the old Cordelia ways here, but she should have immediately been like, no, that's stupid, because if Buffy hadn't been, I would literally be dead. Literally.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
she's just poorly redirecting her
yeah,
anger.
lashing out and redirecting. But I'm just saying, she should have been like, well, actually, I would have been killed like at least 11 times,
Right.
literally. So I guess Buffy's not the problem.
Well, and part of the issue with Cordelia redirecting her anger at Buffy is that there's the heavy intimation that this is a Cordelia episode, and it's not.
It's fucking not at all.
It's 100% a Buffy episode, and
Which makes it's written so weird, dude.
And Buffy lays out the entire thesis of this episode in the opening scene when they're talking about how Faith needs to be around people because, the Slayer thing can be a pretty heavy burden to bear. And Buffy says the only way she really copes with it is because of her friends.
Right.
And that's something that's going to come into play later on in the episode. Yeah. So this isn't, as much as people would like to believe this is a Cordelia episode, it's not. It is 100%.
It's totally not. And at pretty much the halfway point, you'll
right.
see it's not a Cordelia episode.
Right. It's 100% a Buffy episode, which I think is a huge mistake, honestly.
I do too. And I think it was written, I think the way they did it was all ass backwards and silly. Right. I actually like the episode.
Oh, so do I.
But I just think it's really weird choices and really weird.
Well, I think it's written. I think it was deliberately written in a way to make people think it's a Cordy-centric episode.
Right.
And it's not.
Right. Yeah. It's
So then we cut back. We cut to the next morning, and we're back at Sunnydale High. And what's happening there, Jeremy? Oh, before you go on, did you notice anything different about the vampire dustings in this episode?
Well, yeah, instead of I guess you're talking about instead of kind of exploding into dust, they kind of that, you mean?
No. Beginning with this episode, the vampire dusting effects now include the vampire's skeleton.
Yeah. Like they go and then you see the skeleton briefly and then it's dust. Yeah.
Yep.
So somebody got a bump in their budget.
But I think we're probably up to $5,500 now.
Ooh, it's an extra 500 to see
the skeleton. Extra 500 to see the skeleton. Yep.
Okay. So the next morning, Cordy and is walking and talking with Anya and telling her about the whole bronze incident and that she fell into this shit and yada yada, and she pulled some stitches and so forth. And Cordelia had remarked on a necklace that Anya was wearing earlier in the episode, and Anya then takes the necklace off and puts it around Cordelia's neck and says she thinks she needs it more than she does. It's a good luck charm. And she's kind of egging her on a little bit. And Buffy and Willow and Xander are sitting together not too far away from where they're standing and talking. And Cordelia finally comes out and says, I wish Buffy Summers had never come to Sunnydale. And Anya turns around to face her and is now in full spaghetti face demon garb and says, done. And the world ends, and that's the end of the episode. James, tell me, what do you think? She says done, and holy fuck. Sudden flash of light, and Anya's gone, and so's everyone else around there in the courtyard there of the school, and Cordy's looking around, and there's just trash everywhere, and she sees a few students coming to the school, but they're like very quickly walking or jogging into the school, and it's things immediately do not look as they once did. And Cordy also no longer has the injury. She feels her side, and she's like, "Oh, sweet." And she's like, "Damn, Anya must be a good fairy." And I'm like, "Yeah, she is." Not. And Cordy heads into the hallway and runs into the bitch brigade. And she's like, "Oh, fuck. Here we go." But it's a whole different ball game. They're all over her. You know, where have you been? Da da da. We love your outfit. It's so daring. Everybody's, wearing dark, kind of boring, basic clothes. And the jock dude she had talked to earlier in the episode, he shows up and asks if she would, consider going with him to the winter brunch. And she's actually kind of nice about it. She's like, she would think about it or get with him or however she says it. And
she says she'll get back to him.
Get back to him, yeah. And then as she's walking away with the bitch brigade, she's like, "So what's this winter brunch thing?" So she has no idea what that is. And I'm like, "Well, that's where they feed you to vampires. You're the brunch." No. And then we cut to class. Or go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it took me a few to catch on that they probably exchanged like winter formal or winter dance or any dances really for brunches to happen earlier in the day before sundown.
Yeah, that's why she's like, "What's with this brunch thing?"
Right. Yeah, it took me a few seconds after this scene because I was like, winter, like, why the hell would they? And then I was like, okay.
Would you consider going with me to winter breakfast?
Right.
So then we cut to class, and there's the classroom's damn near empty. There's only like
I don't know, 4 students in there.
Eight or so students in there, and it's like, well, okay. And the teacher's reminding them that there will be no classes the next day due to the monthly memorial. And he grabs his shit and bolts for the door as fast as he fucking can. And then all the students are gathering up their shit, and they're all kind of rushing around. And Harmony's like, "Well, my mother doesn't like me to be late coming home." And Cordelia's like, "Since when?" And I'm like, wow, that's a dig at Harmony's mom and their relationship. But she's like,
when does your mom care about you, bitch?
When did your mom like you? I didn't know you could read. But she's like, yeah, because curfew starts at an hour, and Cordelia's like, curfew? What the fuck? And she's like, are we going to do something tonight? Are we going to go to the Bronze? And they all look at her like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? They're like, is that a sick joke? And Harmony's like, is everything okay with you? And because you're acting weird. And Cordy's like, well, I bumped my head. And so yesterday, and I'm having trouble remembering things. And she's like, by the way, is Xander Harris and Willow Rosenberg, are they just like a blip? Like they don't even matter, right? And Harmony's like, well, yeah, because they're both dead. And Cordelia's like, what?
This is another scene kind of similar to the one with Jonathan, where like there's a tremendous amount of acting done in her facial expressions.
Yeah.
And her eyes. Like you can clearly see that this is not the outcome she wanted.
Yeah, no, she wasn't expecting them to be dead. Yeah.
Right. Like this was not what she had wanted. Also, did you notice the goof 'em up and oopsie in this scene?
No, I didn't.
There's a visible boom mic.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what it is? That wasn't visible in the original broadcast, because these shows were originally shown in 4:3 or 16:9, something like that, the aspect ratio. But since they've digitized them and stuff, there's a lot of shit you see now that you would have never seen in the original broadcasting. Like in the first season of Angel, there's a lot of times you'll see not only boom mics, but you'll see there's actually this stunt scene. I think it's the very first episode where he's fighting this guy and the guy kind of like throws him, and you will see for a brief second like 4 guys standing like off to the side and to the right who are like crew guys. You will see them very briefly, but it's because the aspect ratio was changed on all these digital releases and shit they hadn't planned for, obviously, back in the day. But yeah, I didn't notice the boom though. I normally notice shit like that. I'm like, oh, what? You know? So anyway, where did I leave? Okay. So Cordy's heading out to the parking lot. And it's already starting. I'm like, wait a minute, school literally just ended. And she gets out to the parking lot and it's already like halfway fucking dark. I'm like, did school end at 6 o'clock? You know, this is California after all. But
Right.
anyway, it's empty. It's deserted. There's no cars, nothing. And she sees the janitor and asks him, you know, what's up? Where's my car? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, you know, no students are allowed to drive. Now get on home, miss, before it gets dark. And she's like, what the fuck bizarro land am I fucking in? So she, I guess, takes off to start walking home. And she's walking through town of Sunnydale. And it's looking fucking ragged, my friend. It has
bad.
seen its better days, but it is looking ragged. And who does she bump into? Mr. Xander Harris.
Xander Lavelle Harris.
And how is he dressed, James?
A lot like Angel.
Yeah, that's exactly the very first thing. I was like, he is wearing some of David Boreanaz's wardrobe in this scene.
Well, I shouldn't.
He's wearing a wife beater.
He's more Angelus.
Yeah. But I'm just saying he's wearing a wife beater with a leather jacket over top
and leather pants
and some you know, like Doc Martin boots or some shit, you know.
Right.
And they come face to face and she realizes something's off. And who walks up beside him? Willow, who is also decked out head to toe in leather.
Willow, who is Drusilla Light.
Without the crazy meandering silliness of yeah, without all that stupid shit.
I don't know. I think you might be letting your love of Willow cloud your viewing of Vampire Willow.
No, nothing. No,
she wasn't.
It's ever been as bad as Drusilla.
She wasn't as like meandering, but she was. There's definitely like she's out of her gourd.
Yeah. She's
like
a
Drusilla.
raging psychopath. There's no question about that. She wraps her arms around Xander and they start kissing, dude. And I noticed, okay, they're full on French kissing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I noticed just before they pulled apart, like Allison Hannigan does this thing with her tongue. She's like deep in his mouth and she like licks like the roof of his mouth as she's coming out. And I was like, wow, okay, what do I have to do to get a part on this fucking show? Like, come on, brah. Xander fucking Harris, come on. But anyway, yeah, so they're obviously full on together. And they are clearly vampires. Which I think we kind of forgot to say that actually. So they're like,
well, I don't think. Well, I mean, it's obvious, but they haven't vamped out yet, so it's not.
But he does. He what I'm about to say.
Right.
Because he says he's going to give her, what did he say, the head start or whatever to run.
Yeah.
And then he vamps out, and she's like, so of course
let's not forget to mention that when they start kissing, Cordelia's like, she's so upset. She's like, are you kidding me? Even in
Bizarro Land.
In Bizarro Land, you two are still together.
Yeah, she does say that. I forgot to bring that up. Yeah. She's like, I can't fucking win. So she takes off running. He vamps out. They let her run for a while. And then he just literally takes like, I don't know, like 5 steps, jumps over a car, and boom, he catches her and throws her down to the ground, and she's like KO'd. And Willow's like, well, that wasn't fun. She didn't even fight back. Well, then all of a sudden, a van comes tearing around the corner and screeches to a halt. And who's in the passenger side but Mr. Rupert Giles, holding up a wooden crucifix. And he's like, fuck you, motherfuckers. And they're like, ah. And he's literally like, fuck you, No. And driving the van is Oz, who's holding a crossbow on them while he's keeping them back with the what is it, a cross or a crucifix?
Crucifix.
Okay.
Well, no, it's a cross because it doesn't have Jesus on it.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. So and then so then the van, the sliding door opens up, and he's like, get the girl, while he's holding the vampires back with the cross. And who was the other helper?
Larry.
If you guys remember, Larry was the guy who was the jock that used to pick on Xander and then came out as gay. Yada yada. Well, Larry's part of the Scoobs in this Bizarro land. And some
girl named Nancy.
Yeah, named Nancy, who we get no backstory on at all.
It would have been like
why couldn't they have thrown like Jonathan in there? Somebody we knew.
Right. Or at least give us like they didn't even show Larry to us like in the real like world.
Yeah, like he wasn't
in this episode
earlier in the episode in the regular world. Yeah.
Right. Like that would have
they just called him at like, hey, maybe we throw that Larry guy in there. Call him, tell him $100, come and do these couple of scenes.
It would have been, I think it would have been a nice touch to the episode if we had seen Larry and this Nancy girl like earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because this only marks Larry Bagby's fourth appearance on the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, why couldn't we just throw a couple of people in there from the Okay, well, budget reasons, obviously, but it would have been cool if, say, Giles pulled up and it was Giles, Oz, and Jenny Calendar.
Right.
That would have been fucking dope. And you know what I'm saying?
I have a feeling getting Mark Metcalf back cost a chunk of budget.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably the all of the guest star budget went to him. I'm sure. You don't get a guy from fucking Animal House cheap. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, fine. So anyway, they grab Cordy, they throw her in the van, they all jump in. Fucking Rupert says one more, fuck you, and they pull away. And let's see. Shit, I've lost all my. Oh yeah, okay. They get her back to the library at the school, and they tell Giles tells them to go secure the perimeter, because they may be coming after her. And we cut to Xander and Willow.
So there's something in this scene that bothered me a little bit.
Okay.
Nancy deliberately points out Cordelia was wearing a bite me outfit. And she says everyone knows bright colors attract vampires.
Yeah.
And I was like,
when has that ever been a thing?
I was like, what? Huh?
When have they ever mentioned that before?
Like, what? What is this? Huh?
Well, I started thinking, okay, they probably mentioned that. In my shitty memory, I don't remember it, but
no, it's never been brought up.
They've never brought that up.
No, it's never been brought up, and to the best of my knowledge, it's not something that they ever like.
That's even in their lore.
Or right. I'm 90 to 95% certain it's not part of vampire lore. Period.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's definitely nothing they've brought up ever on this show, and I don't think they ever bring it up again.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just a really.
Maybe they had an intern script supervisor that day who was like, they're like, we got to get rid of these lines. Write us something in there real quick. And she's like, bright colors attract vampires. I don't know.
It's just really weird.
Yeah. So Then we cut to Xander and Willow. You know, he's got his arm around her, and they're walking together, and she's all rubbing on his nipples and fucking tweaking them and shit. And they're clearly, you know, like Spike and Drusilla at this point. And they're walking into the Bronze, which has clearly become a vampire nest, for lack of a better term. They've got humans in cages, and they've got, as they're walking through, you'll see though they're just eating humans here and there. And what does he say to that? Xander walks up to another vamp who's playing pool, and he says something like,
He said,
"Slap my hand, undead man."
"Slap my hand, soul man."
Soul man. Yeah, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Where did that? Okay, I guess that's Nicholas Brendan fucking like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I was just like, that's weird and out of nowhere. So.
Oh, no, he says, "Slap my hand, dead soul man."
Dead soul man. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's Nicholas Brendan ad-libbing
Like, what?
poorly. I was like, that doesn't even make sense, and it's out of nowhere. So they get to the back, like the back room of the Bronze, and who is in the big throne there, James, but the Master? Because no Buffy, the Master rose, shit hit the fan, Sunnydale's in the toilet.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I was excited to see the Master again. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen this episode, and as much as I remembered about it, I forgot the Master was in it.
That's like probably the only thing I actually remembered about I was like, I don't really remember what happens in this other than I remember it's Anya, a wish, and the Master's in it. That's all I could remember.
I did not remember that the Master was in it at all. And I typically watch the episodes before I delve into looking up dates and deets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was excited to see him.
You were pleasantly surprised.
I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
So they're talking to him, and he stands up, and he's like, he picks this girl up by her hair who was off screen, and he's like, you know, I don't want to eat anymore from her. She keeps looking at me. I don't like when she looks at me when I'm eating. And so he tosses her to Willow, and she eats her and takes her off camera. And the Master wants a report, and Xander tells him that they nearly killed this one, but the quote white hats stopped them. Master's like, yeah, Giles will be dealt with soon. Then he mentions the girl that they were almost killed had mentioned the Slayer, and the Master's like, what the fuck? We don't need a Slayer here. What we're about to do, it'll ruin everything. And he's like,
y'all better get your asses back there and kill that bitch.
Kill this bitch, or I'll fucking. And he says, I'll see you kissing daylight.
Yeah.
And at that point,
y'all better get your asses back there, gank that hoe before she calls the Slayer.
Yeah, literally, he pretty much says that, except for the gank that hoe part. Xander is like, fuck you, dude. He pulls out a stake and fucking stakes the Master right then. And he's the new leader of the vampires. So they paid him a lot of money to come in and throw out like 4 lines. And okay, none of that happened. Okay, so anyway, we cut to the library.
He did tell them to go back and kill Cordelia before.
Oh yeah, he did say that, or else it was their asses.
Right. Yeah, he did, and that is a good line from him too. And he's like, or else I'll see you two kissing sunlight. I liked that line.
Instead of kissing each other for once. In the library, Cordy wakes up, tells Giles that this whole thing is happening because of the stupid wish she made. None of this is. She doesn't say it's not real, but she says none of this is right. This isn't the right world. And then she says, and he's kind of not really buying it, but then she says, why, how does she say that? Why isn't Buffy here? You were her watcher. And he's like, wait a minute, how the fuck did you know that? And I've never told anyone that I was a watcher. And she's like, but I told you, bitch, I'm lying. And he's kind of confused and yada yada. And then a noise outside catches his attention. And so he goes into the cage to get some weapons, turns around, door closed. Willow holds the key. Gotcha. Ha. Now you're locked up, fuckface. And Xander says, oh, you were a watcher, huh? So you like to watch? Watch this. He's got Cordelia by the back of the neck, and he bites into Cordelia. Willow goes around. She bites into the other side of Cordelia. They all get naked. No, sorry. They literally eat Cordelia. And Cordelia.
Well, so I'm going to stop you right there.
Oh, no, you're not.
You're joking around and you're like, they get naked. But this double bite is very, very
erotic.
Sexual.
It's very erotic, yes.
The
because
way
he reaches around and
it's
like he's got his fantasies coming true, with two chicks.
He cups Willow's he cups the back of Willow's head like they're kissing through Cordelia's neck.
He's like,
and it's very, very sexual.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a twisting shot, and it's very, very much like the shot from the previous episode, Lover's Walk, when Xander and Willow are kissing, and the shot, like he cups her head again as they're kissing, as the shot twists around to reveal Willow or Xander or Oz and Cordelia. Oz and Cordelia standing there. The shots are very, very similar in the way they're done. Then like Willow, like Xander and Willow's kiss in the shot in this episode, literally destroying Cordelia, as opposed to metaphorically destroying Cordelia like it did in Lover's Walk.
Right. So answer me this. On a scale of balsam wood to oak, how much wood did you get from that scene?
None, because Xander was involved.
That's true. That just that kills everything right there. But
also let's talk about the fact that you said it, so I think we're to that. Like, Cordelia's dead.
Yeah, like straight up dead. D-E-D, dead.
Cordelia is dead. So at this point in the episode, you're like, how the fuck do they fix this?
They don't.
Cordelia's dead. Like,
and here, okay, wait, pause, time out, because I want to discuss this anyway. She's dead. Okay, we know this. She should be dead in all realities. Like, I know this is another dimension, but to me, it's like, no. You die in this one, you die in the other one.
I disagree.
Anytime they go to other dimensions, if you used to die there, you're dying in the real one.
I'm going to disagree.
All right, well, let's just agree that I'm right. Okay.
Well, so because here's the thing. So Cordelia herself didn't switch realities.
The reality switched around her. So she still fucking died, is what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is, it's so Cordelia didn't physically switch realities. The Cordelia we know from the real world essentially for lack of a better term, and she quantum leaped into herself in this other reality.
Right, but even in Quantum Leap, if he died in the body, he motherfucker's dead. I'm just saying.
I don't think
I think there's only, when it comes to death, I don't care. Like, I don't like when they play with that. Like, oh, we changed everything back because we crushed, blah blah blah. It's like, no. She's fucking dead. There is no, like, what if that reality had gone on for, let's just say, another 50 years, and her body has decayed, and they were putting her in the fucking incinerator because he asked them to go put the body in the fucking incinerator. Giles does.
Right. But what I'm saying is Cordelia didn't physically.
So what? You're saying she's in like a dream?
She's not in a dream. Her consciousness from the real world is now in the body of Cordelia from this alternate reality.
Well, then who's in her body in the real world?
Who knows?
Well, we need to know that.
I don't think it matters.
All right. We'll agree to disagree on this point because I just don't see it that way. But yeah, Giles uses this little fucking shitty axe, and he after Willow and Xander leave, and he like whacks the doorknob like 2 times, and the gate flies right open. I'm like, why the fuck didn't you do that? Well, anyway, so he runs over to her body. She's fucking dead. And then Oz and Larry come in, and they're kind of beaten up and breathing heavy, and he's like, they attacked us outside. We didn't see them coming, and that's when he asks about, what's her name?
Nancy.
He says, and Nancy, and Oz is just straight up like, no, she's dead. He's like, she's dead. They're all just like, okay, well, Nancy's fucking dead. So he tells them, take the body, talking about Cordelia, take the body to the incinerator. He obviously doesn't want it rising as a vampire. So, but then he sees the necklace shining that she's wearing, and he's like, he kind of recognizes it, and he's like, wait. So he takes the necklace, and they're like, really? You're going to steal shit from a fucking dead body, dude? Really? And he's like, look, I got to pay my rent this month. All right. That looks like it might be worth a couple bucks. So we cut back to the master's lair. Well, the bronze, and he's at an espresso machine, and he's running the espresso machine. And what does it dispense but blood into a little espresso cup? I thought that was a nice touch. I thought that was pretty funny. Xander and Willow arrive, and they're like, the deed is done. And he's like, all right, so the bitch is dead. And they're like, the bitch is dead. He's like, word, dudes. And Willow's like, well, since I've been good and blah, 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 can I play with the puppy? And the master's like, yeah, be my guest, whatever. And we cut to Giles' apartment, and he's on the phone, apparently talking to Buffy's watcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And he's explaining that he needs to meet with her ASAP. And then he finds out that I guess the Slayer doesn't check in with their watcher very often. Because she's so busy, I guess. And she's in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, yes.
And Giles is like, yeah, okay, I understand there's a lot of demonic activity in Cleveland, but Sunnydale is on a literal fucking hellmouth. And apparently the chick's like, really? Because he goes, yeah, really. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, seriously, we're on a hellmouth. So I guess a message has been left for Buffy. And then we cut back to Willow. She is now being very psychotic and going into this area where there is a cell. And she's saying all these weird things, like, oh, you my little puppy, and blah, 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 blah. And she goes inside. She unlocks the thing and goes inside, and there's somebody chained up on the ground there. And she grabs the person. They're laying on their stomach. She grabs them and flips them over. And they, what? Where's that coming from? I don't get it. What is that? Huh? That's right. It's Angel.
Angel.
Angel is on the ground. He is the quote unquote puppy. And he does not look very he does not look very good. That's what
I mean, he looked good.
I mean, he looks good, you know. No, but basically, you know, without Buffy, the Master Rose, apparently Angel was taken prisoner and kept alive to be tortured, because that's exactly what Willow's doing. She fucking straddles him because he's laying on his back. She straddles him like cowgirl style. And Xander comes around the corner and he's like, oh, so he immediately unzips and spits in his hand. No, so they're like lighting matches and like burning the shit out of him, like all over his body, all over his torso and shit. And I'm like, okay. And we kind of cut away and you hear Angel screaming as she continues torturing him. And when we come back to Giles, he's looking to references and he's found something. What's he found, James?
Watcher porn.
Oh, what? Where did he find the Watcher porn at?
In old Watcher diaries.
Oh, so it's hand drawn porn.
It's hand drawn porn.
Oh,
yeah.
is it very good? Like
No.
good drawings? No, they're poor.
Yeah, they're pretty crude. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
man. But he's still trying to work one out.
Yeah.
With
Well,
said
yeah. I mean,
porn.
who knows if Jenny Calendar ever existed in this reality? So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, why didn't the fucking the gypsies get involved here with Angel? And maybe they're happy that he's being tortured. So I don't know.
He finds references to a demon named Anyanka, who is the patron saint of scorned women. Larry is there and asks what she does, and Giles explains that she grants wishes. And then sorry. And then Giles remembers Cordy had said that the world was supposed to be different. And he sends Oz and Larry home, and he goes to look through more research materials. And we cut to him driving back to his apartment, and he sees some vampires herding people into a truck. And he stops and gets out and with his big cross and kind of holds the vampires at bay and tells the people to run, and they do. But the vampires get the upper hand on him and knock him to the ground, and as he's laying on the ground, all of a sudden we hear fighting and vampires getting dusted, and Giles looks up and he sees Buffy, and she's got some scars. You know, she's battle worn, I guess you would say. And he's like, you know, I think he says Buffy Summers, and she's like, yeah, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Now, okay. Approximately 1 hour ago, he made this phone call. Right?
Well, we don't know when he made the phone call.
Well, it was that same night.
Was it?
Oh, come on. Come on. You know damn well this is stupid.
Was it?
She like shows up. She was supposedly in Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, here's the thing though. We don't know that she was in Cleveland, Ohio. We know that her watcher was in Cleveland, Ohio, but we know that Buffy doesn't regularly check in with her watcher. So she could have been anywhere.
Okay. All right. We'll just leave it alone. You know damn well that this is fucking stupid.
I don't know anything of the sort.
Okay. Go on.
Then we come back to Giles' house, and he's explaining that Anyanka's power lies in her power center, and if it's destroyed, all the wishes she's ever granted and their effects will be reversed. And Buffy could like really care less, and just wants to know how to kill Anyanka. And Giles is like, that's not necessary. We don't need to kill her. We just need to destroy her power cell.
Which I'm like, wait, why isn't that necessary? She's a fucking demon. Just kill the fucking bitch.
Right.
Like, why is he in such a? Why is he so adamant? No, we don't need to kill her.
Well,
She's gonna make a good co-star later.
Well, I think aside from that, I think the idea is that he doesn't know what her power center is, so killing her is not really a good idea until
I just assumed that killing her would eliminate her power center.
I wouldn't assume that.
Oh, I would. I'm always like, kill first, ask questions later.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fucking raise your eyebrows at me.
I wonder which one of us would survive a zombie apocalypse.
Me, because I'm killing everything that fucking moves. Nothing's getting anywhere near me. And you're gonna be like, wait, let's discuss. Where's your power center? Like,
no, I would be developing a plan, and you would just be all gung ho, like
killing everything that moves. Yeah.
You would be the type to throw yourself into a herd of zombies thinking you could kill them all, and you would end up dead.
Yeah, because like 30 seconds in, I'd be out of wind. Like, fuck, this was a bad idea. God damn it.
And then they get to talking about the master, and Giles is like, yeah, he's the end all be all vampire here in town, and he's planning something. And of course Buffy's all like, well, let's go kill him. And Giles is like, you need a plan. And she's like, fuck you, I don't know, I don't need a plan, tell me where the fuck the master lives. And then we cut to the Bronze, and it's completely deserted, and Buffy comes across Angel in his cage, and he recognized her.
And he's in the cage by himself, but for some, and he's still chained up.
Mm-hmm.
He's back like in the corner, like in the shadows, and for some reason he is jerking off like a rabid monkey. And she walks in and sees that, and she's like, "The fuck, bro?" And he's like, "Oh shit, sorry." And yeah, I just didn't know if I was the only one that saw that or not.
Yeah, I think you are.
I mean, he was beating that motherfucker like it owed him money. And she was like, dude, really? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He recognized her and tells her that he waited for her, but she never came.
She's like, yeah, but you apparently just did. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Sorry.
Are you done?
For now.
She does have a funny line where after Angel's like tells her that he waited for her but she never came. He says something about her being his destiny, and she's like, is this a get in my pants kind of thing? Because all you guys here in Sunnydale talk like I'm the second coming.
Right, yeah. It's like, well, no, but is it working?
He tells her that when the master rose from the Hellmouth, he imprisoned him as punishment. He tells her he can show her where the factory is, and she goes to let him out, and she's wearing a cross pendant, and it when she goes up to him to undo his chains, it gets too close to him, and he like kind of recoils back, and she realizes he's a vampire, and she's all like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, she's like, "Are you serious?"
And he's like, uh he says something about not wanting to hurt her, or he won't hurt her, and she's like, no, you'll just, you know, let your master do it, or something to that effect. And he's like, if you don't believe I want to help you, at least believe I want him dead. And he shows her all the wounds on his chest from being tortured.
And she just looks like bad acne. What's the problem?
And so she lets him out, and then we cut to the factory, and what's happening there, Jeremy?
Massive fire. There were so many OSHA violations in this factory that there was some bad wiring, and a massive fire broke out. Every worker was lost. There were no survivors. So when Buffy arrives, it's ashes. There's nothing left. There's a massive fire. James passed away.
What?
So anyway, yeah, the master is giving this big rousing speech in front of all these assembled vampires, and Willow and Xander are standing at his side. Apparently, they are his right hand minions in this dimension. And I'm like, wait a minute, why wouldn't Darla and what was his name? Fucking Jawbone. Why would Darla and Jawbone still be his right-hand minions? But I digress. So he's talking about basically the way they have to hunt and feed and everything. It's old news, and with today's technology and stuff, it's easier. And they've got all these prisoners over here behind these literally wooden jail bars. And they grab a chick out of there, and they put her in this thing.
We should mention that Larry and Oz have been captured, and they're among the prisoners.
See, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you, like, do you think that they became, like, they gave themselves up to like infiltrate this place, or they were legit captured?
I think they were legit captured.
Okay, that's fine. I was just, in my mind, I was thinking, maybe this is like part of the plan to get into this place and see what was going on or whatever. But yeah, I can buy they were legit captured. So yeah, they grab a girl. Actually, it's one of the girls from the Bitch Brigade, the Asian girl. For lack of, because they don't give her a name, so I'm just saying. They put her in this contraption, kind of like a conveyor belt looking thing, and these big, like, syringe things plunge into her body in different locations. And then they walk up, and there's literally a tap. They hit the tap, and they fill this like wine glass up with blood, and they hand it to the master, and he's like, yeah, and they're all like, yeah, and I'm like, that's the thing to make this all.
It doesn't seem worth it, does it?
No, it's like a huge buildup to, like, now all we have to do is catch them, bring them here, put them on this contraption, shoot these needles into them, and we can just drink out of the tap. Hey! And everybody's like, that seems rather complicated, the master. And
I like how in your scenario everyone calls him the master.
Right, exactly. And he's like, hey, you fuck right off. And then they're like, sorry, the master. And
like, I don't know if, like, maybe, like, we're just not getting it because, like, they have a minimal amount of time to show us what the master is actually doing with the factory, but, like, so for one, if that's not the full extent of it, like, if they could get more out of her by tapping her like that, they wasted her because they only got they only bothered to fill
Like
half wine glass.
half a wine glass.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they moved her on down the line.
Yeah.
So that's a waste of a person right
Yeah,
there.
because how many pints of blood does the like 8, 10 pints of blood or something?
I'm not
it's like,
a medical
really?
person.
It's like, seems, yeah, they wasted her.
Right. So.
Yeah, so that was the big grand plan. It was basically like, it went over like a fucking fart in church. So,
but to the viewer, like
to us, yeah,
the vampires, like they loved it. They
way on board. They were like, they're like, this is like the invention of electricity. This is so major.
Right.
You are the master god, is what you are.
One vampire was like, "This is the best thing since sliced bread, and I've been around since before sliced bread."
Right. He's like, I had to just eat it when it was just a big chunk of bread.
Right.
Thank you, the master. And the master's like, yeah, baby. so anyway, we cut to Giles' apartment, and he's doing a ritual to summon Anyanka. And the ritual's actually successful, and Anyanka appears. And she's like, oh, what?
This is a great scene, like just the way it's shot, like the way she creepily appears out of the shadows
from the corner. Yeah,
from
it's like,
corner.
Oh god, it's that movie, I forget which movie that was, with a weird creepy girl out of the TV thing.
Yeah,
like
the way she just slowly emerges out of the shadows in the corner of Giles's living room. It was phenomenal. I fucking loved it.
And the makeup they used for her in her demon form, it's simple. It's nothing major, but it worked because she looks like Freddy Krueger, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Fuck me. She comes out of the corner, and you're like, oh, no, go back. I'm putting the fucking shit out if I'm him. I'm like,
right.
Go back.
Well, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. It was
never mind. I don't want you here. No, God. You look.
Yeah,
face looks like a topographical map of Idaho, and yeah. So I don't know.
To quote
anyway,
to quote Deadpool, her face looked like Freddy Krueger fucked a topographical map.
Yeah, exactly. So so she appears, and she's pissed. She's like, do you have any idea what I do to a man who summons me? And he's like, you fuck them furiously? And she's like, yeah. And she starts on
she's like, yeah, that's exactly right. And
he hits the record player, and it's like, let's get it on.
And she lays
whoa. I don't, when I think about it, I don't think I want to fuck Freddy Krueger on Yanka. I think I would still be blowing at the thing and trying to unsummon her at this point.
But non-Freddy Krueger Anya, you'd be okay?
Fuck yeah. Have you seen Anya?
Emma Caulfield is very attractive.
Yes.
Very attractive.
Yes. And I'm not... Dude, we come across as such chauvinistic fucking pigs in this show. I can't help it. I've been in love with these people and these characters for 20-something years, Let's just call it as it is. So he's like, we cut back to the plant, and he's finishing his speech and whatnot, and Buffy and Angel arrive, and they're kind of intermingling in the crowd and staying low key for now. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Buffy pulls out a crossbow, points it at the master, shoots it. And the master grabs Xander and pulls him in front of him, and Xander takes the crossbow bolt. It doesn't kill him, but it takes it right in the shoulder. I love that, dude.
I did too.
Love that.
I did too.
Because I'm like, that is the type of villain I like, who's like, oh, fuck this, and pulls one of my minions in front of me here to take this shot. And then all hell breaks loose. Angel and Buffy are because basically this place is just full of vampires, the master's minions. So they're fighting everybody. At one point, Angel just starts stripping his clothes off, and all the
You-
female vampires are like, "Woo!"
Angel releases all the prisoners, and they all scatter except for Larry and Oz. They stick around to help fight.
Yeah, and they actually released the Kraken after that, don't they? Oh, wrong movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, where did I leave off? Yeah, so Angel releases all the prisoners. They all kind of scatter except for Oz and Larry, and they stay to fight. So then we cut back to Giles' apartment, and he's like, "What did Cordelia wish for?" And of course, Anyanka's not telling him, and she's just kind of gloating that she had no idea that this wish was going to create such an exciting world. And she's coming towards him, kind of, leering towards him, and he's like, "I'm not afraid of you. Your only power is in your, the wishing thing." And she's like, "Wrong." And she grabs him by the neck, picks him up, and fucking puts him against the wall. And I'm like, "Oh, miscalculation, Giles." And so she's holding him up against the wall and basically choking the fuck out of him. And we cut back to the plant, and Buffy and Angel are fighting, and
Not each other.
no, yeah, they're fighting the guys and the vampires, and Xander comes running up to Buffy and goes for a big punch, and she fucking blocks it. Bam, stakes him. Xander is dust, and boy, did that feel fucking good to see him dust. What? Yes? What? Yeah, huh? Yeah, huh? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Xander tries to attack Buffy from behind.
That's what I said.
Okay.
All right.
Angel sees it, and
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
saves her, and Xander stakes Angel.
Yeah, he does, and Angel's gone.
Angel turns around, and as he's turning to dust, he says Buffy's name,
like he always does.
Yeah, right before he dies.
Yeah,
and
Buffy just has she doesn't give zero fucks.
Right, because she doesn't know who any of these people are.
She just kind of shrugs and turns and walks back into the fight. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, my bad.
Keeps on with the fight.
Then we cut back, and Anyanka's telling Giles that the world they live in now is the only world there is, and there's no going back. And we cut back to the plant, and there's more fighting. This is when Xander comes running up to throw a punch. She blocks it. Boom, stakes him. Xander's fucking toast. And Oz and Larry gang up on Willow, and Oz pushes her back against an exposed piece of wood. Boom, stakes Willow. Willow's gone. And then the Master spots Buffy down below, and they start working their way towards one another through the fray.
Stop real quick and talk about how fucking smooth the Master's slide down the railings on those stairs was.
Oh yeah. For a guy who's, I think he's like, he would have been late 50s, I believe, when this was shot. Possibly early 60s, maybe. He's an older gentleman. And yeah, it was pretty smooth.
I don't think his feet even touched the stairs.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think it was 100% like he slid on his hands down those rails. Yep. It was fucking smooth. I loved it.
Yeah, and they're heading towards each other through this fracas. And we cut back, and she's still holding Giles up against the wall by his throat, and he looks down and spots the necklace on her, which is identical to the one, obviously, that he took off Cordelia. So he rips it off of her, and she's immediately like, ah! And
but it's glowing too.
Yeah, it's glowing.
So,
and I think that's the moment he realizes that is her power center.
Mm-hmm.
That is her matrix. So
her
she lets
her
him,
Allspark.
Yes, yes. So she drops him because she's freaking out, and we cut back, and Buffy and the Master finally meet up in the middle of all this, and I think she throws like one or two punches. He blocks them, throws a big punch at her, which kind of like totally rings her bell. He turns her around, grabs her by the chin, snaps her fucking neck. Buffy's dead. That easily. Like, this isn't one of our haha funny makeup shit. Like, that's Buffy's dead. In this universe, Buffy is now dead. He just very easily, nonchalantly owned her. Uh, well, actually, didn't that actually happen at the same?
So
Yeah, I kind of fucked up here in my notes.
So
yeah.
while they're exchanging blows, those couple of blows, Giles takes the necklace over to his desk and kind of clears it off and picks up something heavy, and
it's a giant dildo is what it is.
And Anyanka is like, you don't know that the other world is any better than this. And Giles says he says something to the effect of it has to be.
Yeah.
And as that's happening, and as he's bringing down the blunt object on the necklace, is intercut with back to the Master and Buffy, and he's got her turned around at this point, and as Giles is bringing down the thing on the necklace, the Master snaps her neck, and her body slow-mo falls down as Giles smashes the necklace, and we see the flash of bright light.
So at that very moment, in that reality, or whatever you want to call it, Kendra has just been called.
Kendra has just been called, yes.
I just have been called to kill the master. Her horrible accent.
And at that point, everything goes back to the way it was at the moment Cordelia made the wish. And nobody remembers anything, and Cordelia starts making a bunch of wishes, and Anya keeps saying done to every wish, but nothing's happening.
Right, because we forgot to mention this, but earlier in the episode, Giles had mentioned that if her power center was destroyed, not only would everything go back to the way it was, she would become mortal,
right,
and lose her powers. Yeah.
Right.
So that's apparently she is now totally mortal.
Right. Yeah, so she's wishing, just keeps wishing stuff, and Anya keeps trying to grant the wishes, but nothing happens, and we fade out on Giles walking past Buffy and Willow and Xander sitting on the bench like they were, talking and laughing, and that is the end of our episode.
That is the end of our episode. James?
How about a little monsterology, Jeremy?
Okay.
I think we can both agree this is obviously pretty heavily inspired by It's a Wonderful Life.
What? No.
Directed by Frank Capra, released in 1946. Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed. I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. It doesn't really so much anymore, but it used to get a ton of airtime around the holiday season. Unfortunately, it
gave way to the much better and more popular Christmas Story.
God, I hate that fucking movie.
I hate you for saying that.
I cannot. A Christmas Story is the worst movie ever made, and I've seen Velocipaster.
Have you seen Sharknado?
Yes.
Then you have no taste, sir.
I'm sorry, I cannot stand A Christmas Story.
You're literally the only person on earth that feels that way.
I'm not. I can introduce you to at least two other people that don't like that movie.
well, those two people and you can all go to hell.
Oh, that's fine.
And I'll see you there.
If I could, I would slit the throat of the programming director at TBS and TNT for playing that movie for 24 hours every holiday season. I would commit murder to make it stop.
Wow.
And I don't even watch it while it's on. That's how much I hate it.
That escalated.
Yeah. The fact that they
I
made
think maybe you have some issues that maybe
the fact that they made a sequel to that movie pisses me off. It makes me irrationally. I realize that it's not.
You do realize this is all irrational and ridiculous,
right? It makes me irrationally angry. That movie and how much I dislike it. But I also feel like, and it's probably not likely because I'm guessing these are probably being written and filmed around the same time what I'm about to mention was written and came out. It very much feels like the plot of 1997's Wishmaster, directed by Robert Kurtzman and starring Andrew Divoff and Tammy Lauren. Are you familiar with Wishmaster?
I feel like I have seen that at some point. I know there was like 30 of them, and most of them were direct to DVD.
DVD, yeah. But Robert Kurtzman, that's definitely a name you should know. He's big in the Star Trek world the last decade or so.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Our body count this week, I didn't go back and look, but it might be our largest body count to date.
It's got to be. It has to. I was thinking this. We were only about halfway through the episode, and I was already like, yeah, I think this is our highest body count. I mean, I think it would be almost impossible to count all of them, especially if you're counting off screen.
Right.
This is without a doubt. Like, until the final episode of this series, this has got to be the highest body count.
We're at 13. 13 for this episode.
Yeah, that's definitely the highest. Definitely.
Yeah. Including every one of our main characters.
Yeah,
except
literally
Giles.
all of them. Except, Giles doesn't die.
Right. Well, I guess neither does Oz. So.
Yeah, or Larry. Oz, Larry, and Giles are our new main cast.
Our new main cast. Our music this week is Tired of Being Alone, performed by The Spies from the album Toy Surprise Inside, released by Fig Records in 1998, and Dedicated to Pain, performed by Plastic, which remains unreleased.
As it should be.
Jeremy.
Yes, James.
Why don't you tell me
how
many patron saints of scorned women you're going to give this episode, and give us your final thoughts?
It's a 4. It's a 4 because it's fucking fun episode. I had written down 3.5, but I just, in the last moment, I was like, nope, I'm bumping it to a 4. It's a fun episode. I love it. Everybody loves Vampire Willow. Vampire Xander, he's like more douchey than normal Xander.
Do you think there's a reality out there where there's a likable Xander?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He comes from a broken home. Yeah, he's been fucked up since childhood, so no, absolutely not. It's just a fun episode. There's not a lot to talk about that we didn't bring up in the as we were talking about it. It's a fun episode. There's some goofy shit here and there. There's always some goofy shit here and there. And we brought up the fact that this was not a Cordelia episode. Right. This was a Buffy episode. Proven when they killed her halfway through the episode, and we never saw her again until the very last scene. So, yeah, it just super fun episode. It's a solid 4. This is an episode I would want to show people who hadn't seen Buffy before. I know it would be confusing as fuck for them to watch. But I just think it's one of those fun episodes where you're like, oh yeah, you got to watch this one. This one's fucking good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. James.
Yes, sir.
How many hot Allison Hannigans in leather do you give this episode? And give us your final thoughts.
I'm gonna give this 5
Oh,
Allison Hannigans in leather. I love the fuck out of this episode.
like you'd marry it.
I would marry it. I would. It's a problematic redhead, and I
It's
will
a
wife it
problematic
up.
redhead that you will wife up.
And I will wife it up.
Okay.
No, it's like you said, it's a fun episode. It's not a funny episode. It's a very dark episode.
Yeah.
It's of course got its light moments, like all the episodes do. But and like you said, like there's really not a lot to say that we didn't cover as we were reviewing it.
Yeah.
There's so many good scenes in it. You know, Charisma Carpenter, when she is the focus of the episode, which is a decent amount of the episode, she kills it. Like there's so much going on in her facial acting and what she's doing with her eyes, nuances that I talked about. There's just a lot of great shots in the episode, including the Anyanka one coming out of the shadows, like we mentioned.
That's so fucking creepy, man.
It was creepy.
Like, no, go back.
Go back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. This world's fine. I don't fucking care.
Fucking all live with the vampires.
And I'll be honest too, a big part of the reason this gets a 5 for me is because I'm kind of a sucker for alternate reality episodes.
Yeah, me too.
I really like when we can see, we've kind of talked about this before. I like when we can see actors and characters that we're familiar with put into situations and roles that we're not familiar with or we're not used to seeing them in. And obviously, especially since It's a Wonderful Life came out, this kind of whole what would everybody's life be without this certain person has kind of become a TV and movie trope.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for it. Like
It usually always works, you know.
Right, like I love that stuff. Like, listen, do I think, you know, kind of to go back to another show that you and I both love, do I think To Be and Not to Be are the best episodes of Highlander? No, they're not. But are they really good episodes? Solely based?
No, they're not. They're not.
Well, see, I disagree. I think they are really good episodes, and to me, a big part of that hinges on this trope of what would the world be like without this character, or if certain things had gone a different way, what would the world be like? I am a sucker for that kind of thing. So yeah, this is a really good episode. I love it. It definitely makes the list of episodes I would show somebody to pique their interest. It wouldn't be the first episode. It would be like,
it would be confusing as shit.
Right.
You know?
Like it would be a few episodes in, you know.
Yeah.
I would show people these episodes in the order that I say I would show it to them in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the very first episode of the podcast and start tallying up which episodes I say make that list, I would show them in that order.
That order, yeah.
And 100%, if I'm flipping through channels and it's on, I'm gonna stop and watch.
Yeah.
So, it's just got a lot of really great stuff in it. Vampire Willow is like, come on. That's a kink unlocked I didn't know I had. until I saw that episode.
No, I've always been in love with Allison Hannigan. Always.
No, I mean when I originally saw the episode.
Yeah.
Like Vampire Willow. Like
Vampire Willow is something you're like, oh, I didn't. But damn, she's good.
Right.
She's good bad.
Right. Like I vividly remember being like, well, that's not something I knew I wanted. but there it is.
Needs me some more of that.
And now, like, 20 some odd years later, there's there was a pleasure, for lack of a better term, in watching Xander get staked.
Yes, there was.
It was so gratifying.
It was very
so
it was like, oh yes. Now, if only when he crushed the necklace and it went back to normal, it'd be awesome if that didn't. Like Xander stayed dead.
Xander's still dead.
And no one ever mentions him again.
Right.
Because they have no memory of him. It's been erased and they're just like, they just go on without him.
But I vividly remember watching it and like originally and being upset. Like, even though you knew it was going to be undone by the end of the episode somehow.
Yeah,
like,
seeing your favorite characters bite it.
Right, like seeing all your favorite characters die one by one was like,
and you're like, really? You guys leave Larry alive? Really?
Right.
Why couldn't Larry have gotten his neck broken?
I remember watching it originally and being just flabbergasted. I mean, use old man words, flabbergasted that Cordelia died.
Yeah,
like halfway through the episode, dead. because honestly, like, looking at this kind of trope, it's like, well, the person that did this is dead. How do you undo it now? George Bailey didn't die in It's a Wonderful Life.
Right. Because somebody has to undo it.
Because somebody has to undo what that person did. And It's typically that person that did it in the first place. So yeah, I remember being like, holy shit, like what is happening here?
Yeah, like this probably isn't good.
Right. But yeah, so that's my final thoughts on the episode.
All right. I want to invite everyone, if I could, for a moment here, James.
To a fireside chat?
To a fireside chat, no. I'd like to invite everyone to go into their web browser.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, real quick, before you go on. A photo op with James Marsters is $70, and getting his autograph is $50.
Now, how much to like tweak his nipple?
That's probably like at least 85.
Okay, I'll send you some cash.
90.
PayPal. You like PayPal?
Yeah, you can pay.
Anyway, yeah, I want to invite everyone to visit Buffy-revisited.com/nerd.org. No, just that's our web presence. That will give you links to everything else. Our Facebook,
our YouTube,
our OnlyFans, which is, what did we say it was last week?
It's at nipples.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but that'll give you access. Buffy Revisited at gmail.com is our. Nobody uses this shit, so
it's not true. Like, at least on almost every episode so far this season, I've had comments to read from people.
Well, yeah, but it's the same two people.
So we're
I'm just saying.
But listen, up until this season, it was the same one person. So we're expanding. We're growing, Jeremy.
At this rate, if we continue to double, we should be at 4 next time.
Yeah.
Next season we'll have 4 people.
Yes. So anyway, what Jeremy is trying to say is go to buffyrevisited.com. You'll have links to our email, which is buffyrevisited@gmail.com. It'll link you to our Facebook and our YouTube. Go to either one of those. Leave comments on our posts. Obviously, on the YouTube channel, you can watch the video version of the podcast. You can see our beautiful faces, my majestic beard, whatever it is Jeremy's got going on his face.
Wow. This is called grooming, motherfucker. While James just allows a niffler to grow on his face.
Hey, nifflers are fucking adorable, okay?
They are adorable.
I wish out of the entire Harry Potter universe, the only thing good to come out of it is a fucking niffler, okay?
Man, I thought I knew you.
Yeah, so go to any of those places, leave us comments about the podcast, about Buffy, about Angel, the shows, episodes, whatever. Reach out to us. We want to talk to you. That is sincere. We joke around a lot, but that is 100% sincere. We would love to have discussions about I'm sorry.
About James getting some cough syrup.
Discussions about the Buffyverse with you guys, with other fans. So hit us up at any of those places.
Indubitably. And thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we will be diving into season 3, episode 10, Amends.
Amends. That is the Christmas episode.
It is.
And
only 2 episodes away from our mid-season break.
2 episodes away from the mid-season hiatus, where we will be taking a 2-week sabbatical.
Indeed. And with all that being said, I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.